Welcome to Skill Sprint with me, Chris Webber. This video is a quick highlight reel of my latest episode of the Commercial Edge podcast. I use my notes and scribbles from the full-length conversation to pull out what I feel are the headlines and lessons from my most recent expert guest. Drawing on my experience, this video gives you all the key points without the stories. My hope is that you can use these tips and tricks to unleash the power of your people. Teams are an essential part of accountability, and how we work within teams dictates how we deliver for our organizations as a whole. I had a conversation with Jo Keeler, who is the managing director of Belbin. Belbin specialize in teams and creating high performance teams. And I wanted to talk to her about accountability and how you can build accountability into teams. It was a totally different angle in terms of accountability. And what we talked about was the power of individual contribution, the power of sitting at home, working on your laptop, doing meetings, doing your job, doing your tasks, but how that is not the same as being accountable for team performance, for working as a group and for delivering for the business and the challenges that come alongside that. It was really interesting because we started the conversation, became a circular conversation because we started off talking about the power of contracting and how I rolled my eyes, this idea of why do people roll their eyes when you talk about roles and responsibilities as part of a team? And we finished with that. That was her biggest piece of advice, is that you need to invest time at the start of a project or a program defining the roles and responsibilities of the team. But as a start point, it was interesting to understand why people resist that. Why do they roll their eyes when you say, let's think about roles and responsibilities? And how can you encourage people to be more accountable? She shared an idea which I really liked, which is that at the start of a program, start of a project, you have 5-minute one-to-ones with everybody in the team, sharing what you're good at, what you're not very good at, areas that you feel confident about, areas that you feel you struggle with, things that trigger you, that you might find difficult to align on, and making this a really open conversation. And she said you end up with this spider's web of connections of people who start to really understand the strengths of people around them and their colleagues. And from there, you can start to share accountability. You can start to say to people, hey, I'm not great at this. Can you help me? Or being able to say to people, no, perhaps that sits better in your area of expertise, and I'd love if you would take a lead on that. We're too keen to hold everything, be experts for everything. And we talked about schooling, how we're encouraged to, be good at maths and science and technology and English and history and art and languages. And you can't be great at all of these things. So why do we try? Surely it's much more powerful for us to focus on our strengths, but also to understand where our weaknesses are. The other task that she did, which I thought was a wonderful exercise to do as a team, is to get people to note down, what are our objectives as this team? Not what are my personal objectives, what are our objectives as this team? She said rarely do they come across teams who all know what they're aligned to deliver. And I think that's a great way to start. And if you're a manager, if you're a leader, checking in with your people and making sure that they understand what your team is trying to deliver is a wonderful way to start people to become accountable for delivering against those things. If they don't know what it is, how can they share their responsibility? And from there, you can talk about how individual contributors, whilst not directly delivering against objectives, do help the team to function well. My parallel is always sport and rugby, and everybody in a rugby team needs to be a contributor. They need to do their job. Some people get the opportunity to score points for the team. Most people don't. And yet the people who score points are worth nothing unless the guys who are responsible for securing the ball, winning possession, protecting your own defensive line do their jobs. Let's take the same into work. It's not everybody who gets the glory, but by understanding what the team is trying to do and being accountable to that through excellence in your own performance, we can make a huge difference.